Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Christina, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about me. So that's exciting. First, I want to show you guys this t-shirt that I got from David Ram's store. It says Veganism and Justice for Animals, and it's really cool, and I love it. So a little bit about me. I went vegan on September 1st of 2021. I was 17 at the time, and this was a time of exploration for me because previously in that same year, I'd also left the religion that I was raised in my entire life, Mormonism. And prior to leaving that, I had done tons of research and found out that a lot of things that I believed were true for a really long time were not by further inspection. And so after leaving the church, I think it was in February or March of that year, I started questioning a lot of things, a lot of my previously held beliefs that I was very attached to. And I started reading books about philosophy, challenging my own beliefs and figuring out, what is true? Is there even truth? Grappling with all these existential questions. 2021 was also the summer that I was going off to college, so that came with it. So I was just figuring out, who I was, what I stood for, what my values were, figuring out like my identity as I stepped into like a whole new world, I guess. And I was really into reading just in general. Like in 2020, I'd actually read 100 books. I dared myself to read 100 books because it was like pandemic and stuff. We were in quarantine. I was like, I need to do something. I don't have a social life anyway. So let's just read 100 books and see where it gets me. That year, I'd read this book called Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer, which I thought was really interesting. But it's like I wanted to see what else the author had to offer. So in 2021, in that summer, right, I read his book Eating Animals, which is a nonfiction book that he wrote about eating animals. And like the first time I found this book, I remember thinking like, oh, I know exactly what this is going to be. He's going to try to convince me not to eat meat anymore. But, I love meat, so he's not going to change my mind. But I want to like challenge myself to see if I can withstand his arguments, right? So really it was just like a kind of challenge accepted moment for me. And I never thought he would actually change my mind. So I finished that book, Eating Animals by Jonathan Safran Foer, on July 29th of 2021. And I had this text conversation with my friend about it. I said, by the way, I just finished the book Eating Animals by Jonathan Safran Foer, and I think I want to become a vegetarian once I start cooking for myself, right? Because I was still living with my parents that summer. I was about to move out, right? Or at the very least, buy ethical, cruelty-free meat. So that's like, so I was still kind of believing in the whole humane myth. But then I said, like, but I don't know how reliable those labels are. They're not. And then I said, the thing is, I love meat, and you know that about me. Like, apparently it was a personality trait. I'm not even sure. Like, I barely remember. Like, I did love meat. I loved the taste of meat. I loved meat dishes and stuff. But I don't remember being, like, so head over heels with it. I guess maybe that's just a selective memory thing. She says, yeah, meat is delicious. And I respond, but I think helping animals and the environment is worth a mild inconvenience, It's just the morally right thing to do. And some meat substitutions are actually pretty good. So that's kind of where I was at the end of July, but I started doing more research and started reading more books and watching documentaries as well. So the first book that I read after this was actually Animal Liberation by Peter Singer, which Cosmic Skeptic Alex O'Connor had recommended in one of his first videos about veganism, and I'd also been watching his videos about it. At this point, I think I also started watching more like vegan YouTubers. Like, I think I started with Earthling Ed and Joey Carbstrong, kind of in that area, and they're great. Ed and Joey allowed me to see like every single counter argument that I had in my head was very easily debunkable, and it basically just indicated that I was just attached to meat and animal products as a food source, and that I had no further justification for it, right? And then finally, I decided to watch Dominion. Because I'd heard all about this, Like, you can't hang out in the vegan sphere without hearing about Dominion. So I watched Dominion, or tried to, at least. I actually watched the first 15 minutes, which is just the pig section, basically. And I couldn't do it. Like, I was done. Like, from that moment on, I was like, this is wrong. This is just categorically wrong. I will not contribute to this anymore. I don't want to pay for this, even though like I wasn't paying for it like my parents were at the time, but I still felt like immense levels of guilt having watched that. That was like the last week of August or something. And then the 1st of September, I went vegan. And so there might have been like two weeks or something that I had refused to eat meat at my parents' house and my grandparents' house because we were on vacation there. And I hadn't really given a reason for it. I just said, I don't want to. I'll just eat more greens. I knew it would be a very controversial issue for them. And it still is. They're very against veganism, anti-vegan. So I was really dreading to bring it up. And I hadn't told them about this or the books that I read or the documentary that I saw. On the 1st of September, when I moved out, I was like, I'm going vegan cold turkey. I'm just doing it. And it was surprisingly easy. In the beginning, I ate mostly like meat alternatives, fake meats and stuff. And I still do, but to a lesser extent. Like I really enjoy finding new, exciting like vegan dishes because growing up, I was basically used to the same like maybe 10 or 15 dishes that my mom made in rotation. Most of it was a very basic, potatoes and meat and veggies. So this whole world of like all these different ingredients and so many vegetables and plants and stuff that I'd never even heard of, right? I'd never heard of seitan. I'd never heard of tempeh. I'd barely heard of tofu, actually. And lots of other, like, very, like, different fruits, different vegetables that I had not heard of or that I'd never tried. It kind of expanded my culinary world, and that's actually how I learned how to cook, because I hadn't learned how to cook before going vegan, probably because I was lazy at the time. But the more I experimented, the more I learned, like the more I enjoyed cooking. And now I still find it quite a pleasurable experience, even though I wouldn't say like I'm amazing at it, but I keep getting better. But yeah, long story short, I went vegan without telling anyone. And then like the next weekend that I came home, I had to tell my parents, obviously, because otherwise they couldn't accommodate for me if they didn't know that I was vegan. But they were very mad. They were very angry and upset with me, mostly because I didn't tell them beforehand. But obviously, I knew they'd get angry, so that's why I didn't want to tell them. Which was the same thing with like coming out as an atheist. It's like I didn't feel like it was a safe environment for me to be honest with them about these things. But yeah, no, it led to a lot of tension in the household, and we still have a strained relationship to this day, which sucks. But hey, at least I don't have to see them every day anymore, so that's fine. So basically, the reason I went vegan is because I think animals deserve the right to life, and we don't have the right to inflict harm upon them or to kill them for trivial things like food or clothing, when we could easily just eat something else or use different materials. Like, once that clicked, like I think animals deserve moral consideration. Like the whole world turned upside down for me. I was like, I'd never seen it in this way before. I'd never seen animals as individuals. I never considered that animals could have their own subjective experiences and that they felt things, right? And, finding out all the horrible things that happen to animals on a daily basis, it was like, I don't want to contribute to this anymore. I don't want to pay for this anymore. Which is like the sane conclusion, And to this day, I think it's one of the best decisions I've ever made, and I'm really proud of my 17-year-old self for taking that step. Anyway, the reason I wanted to make this video is not just to tell you my story about how I became vegan, but also because I recently uncovered an audio recording that I made, like maybe a week before I went vegan. Like when I need to vent or something, when I need to rant about something or talk to someone and I don't have anyone to talk to, I just record myself talking and kind of just let it all out. And that's what happened in this recording. So I'm just gonna let you listen to it. So these are the feelings that I was feeling right before I decided to go vegan in August of 2021.
Okay, so I'm feeling huge levels of guilt right now. And why? Well, because I can't morally justify eating meat, eating animals. I can't. I can't. It's wrong.
It is wrong.
Just the amount of animal abuse that's going on right now and the factory farming and everything. It's horrible. It's horrible. I don't want to be part of it. It brings so much unnecessary suffering in the world, and animals don't deserve that. They feel pain exactly like we do. They may not be as smart as we are, but that doesn't determine your worth as a being. It's It's tough. But it's really not that tough, though. Like for me it is, but logically, I know what I have to do, right? Because on one hand, all these animals are suffering for no good reason, and on the other hand, I like the taste of meat. Really, it's so simple.
It is.
It's morally wrong. It's just morally wrong. The morally right choice, right thing to do would be to become a vegetarian. I mean, probably better vegan, but at least vegetarian.
Now, I believe that veganism is the moral baseline. I think vegetarianism, although slightly better than just regular carnism, is still not great. I was still trying to process that. I still saw veganism as kind of a radical or extreme ideology when it's just a philosophy of nonviolence.
That's what I want to do. It's tough, and I don't know how I would explain it to my parents, and or to anyone really. I mean, people just don't get it. Like I didn't get it for a long time. I was like, they're just dumb. I don't know. I really did not respect it for a while.
Yeah, no, vegans are stupid.
These last 2 years, I think, at least, that I was, well, I respect those who choose, but I don't really understand why you would. Oh, well, it's sad for the animals, but I mean, animals are made to be eaten. I mean, that's what they're for. It's a circle.
Yeah, the circle of life. Yeah, that's what I used to believe. I was incredibly religious. And I did believe that animals were here for us to be eaten, to suffer, which is like a very sadistic line of thinking. It's thinking like an oppressor. And I definitely think leaving religion helped me like get rid of that feeling of superiority to animals or feeling of dominion over animals. Like I can do whatever I want with them and their well-being and their interests don't matter when they do.
That's because I was looking at this through a religious lens, right?
Mm-hmm, true.
God made animals to be eaten for humans to eat them.
Did he though?
But no, no. Since God doesn't exist and God didn't do that, there's no real reason. There's no reason.
And even if God would have done that, I wouldn't have chosen to participate in it because that's just a very incredibly sadistic way to create a world. Like, no thanks, God.
And I mean, if God would have done that, then God is also morally objectionable.
See? Yeah, exactly.
So that's the whole thing.
I'm so based.
It's so simple. It's the right thing to do. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
I will not, I don't want to contribute to this industry, this horrid industry. And also, like, as a cherry on top of this, right? Factory farming is responsible for the majority of, what do you call it, like greenhouse gases.
Not the majority, but I think it was like around 20%. Like, it's a good chunk.
Being released into the atmosphere, like, it's so bad for the environment. It's terrible. Right? Everyone's talking about, oh, we need to cut down on transport or whatever. Transport doesn't hold a candle to the meat industry. The meat industry specifically. So I am killing the planet in two different ways by eating meat, right? And I am having, climate change anxiety.
Depression,
These past few weeks
more
as
likely.
well.
Yeah.
Like I'm just constantly, I'm reading so many books about this stuff, right? Nonfiction books, and it's opening my mind and my eyes about everything that's going on, and
I had an
it's
epiphany.
freaking me out. And I want to help. I want to fix it in any way I can.
Poor girl. I still feel like that. You figure out all of these problems in the world and you're like, I want to fix it. I want to do something about it. But then once you start, once you, for example, go vegan, once you lower your personal carbon footprint or go like become an activist and start going to protests and stuff, sign petitions and everything, you still feel like a level of futility there. Like nothing I do will make a substantial enough difference to actually change the world in time before it goes to shit, right? Which leads to like a whole depression, basically, which people have called like climate depression, climate change depression. Just that unbearable feeling of being an individual, I guess, and feeling so small in a big world. And it's a hard feeling to deal with, but it's one you have to deal with, and you can't let it stop you from trying to change the world for the better.
More people need to know about this.
True.
Like, they kind of know, but they don't realize. You know, once it's shoved in your face, like it was when I read, for example, Eating Animals by Jonathan Safran Foer.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. I think I realized when I heard that piece of information about turkeys, what happened to turkeys.
Yeah.
They've been so genetically manipulated, and their breasts have been enlarged so much that they cannot have sex anymore. They can't reproduce naturally, so they have to be jerked off. Males have to be jerked off, and the sperm has to be injected into the female. What the fuck?
What the fuck? That's the right reaction.
Insane. That's insane. They've ruined an entire species of animals.
True.
Like,
God.
are you serious? Like, I can't. And I mean, I've never eaten turkey. I mean, maybe once. But it's horrible. This is crazy.
You know, I was actually once attacked by a turkey. I mean, just because one turkey attacked me doesn't mean I don't think all the other turkeys should have rights, you know?
I will not be complicit. You know, this stuff is happening on the regular. I can't. Like, I have this on my conscience now. Like, now that I know this information, I can't get rid of it. I can't ignore it. Like, I've been trying. I mean, I've been trying to ignore the whole thing about meat for a while because, I mean, I'm not cooking for myself. So I have to accept whatever my mom or my grandma cooks for me, right?
Yeah.
And that often includes meat as well. And I eat it. But I mean, it tastes good. It tastes great. But I feel guilty about it, of course. Of course. I do. Every time I'm like, should I even do this? Like, what does it say about me that I'm enjoying this even? Like, I feel guilty. It's so weird. Because it's been normal for my entire life, right? For 17 years. It's like the most normal thing to eat meat. And now I find out that it's actually morally not okay. It's not okay.
What I think is interesting about this is often when it comes to, animal rights activism, vegans talk about, showing people footage. Is that effective or ineffective in getting people to change? Some vegans would argue like trying to make others feel guilty about their meat and animal consumption will just make them more resistant to veganism because they feel like their identity and their is being challenged, being threatened. But I personally think it really depends. Like I think everyone in general should just know what's happening in factory farms, regular farms, and slaughterhouses. We're not necessarily showing it to make people feel guilty. We're trying to inform people, but also, as it was in my case, guilt can be a really effective motivator, and this is a thing that I think you should feel guilty about to some extent. But I think me feeling guilty in this case was not necessarily justified because I was not making those consumption decisions, but I still felt incredibly guilty and I probably shouldn't have, and it was maybe a little destructive to my conscience at the time, but it did lead me to make a very positive change. So I don't think we should exclude guilt necessarily. Like, it shouldn't be destructive. It should lead to progression. You shouldn't beat yourself up for what you've done in the past. You should aim to be better.
It's just such an unethical industry.
Yeah.
And I can't. I can't. So when I'll start living alone, I'll start eating vegetarian. But if someone else cooks for me, then I'll just eat whatever they give me. Like, I don't want to be an inconvenience to them, right? But then, is it really worth that? Like, maybe I should be an inconvenience.
You definitely should. Don't equivocate on your standards, Christina. Like, at the beginning, I was still very shy. And I went vegan like a week or two after this. I might have still like eaten vegetarian at my parents' house because they wouldn't go out of their way to make me vegan food. But then after like a few more weeks or a few more visits, I like stood my ground. I was like, I will not eat things with milk or eggs in them anymore. Like, this is what I believe in, and I'm going to stand up for myself. And I do think going vegan made me a more confident person because I used to be very shy and very insecure. I think a combination of just growing up and learning to stand up for myself in different areas of my life made me a very much a stronger person.
I won't buy meat. Even though I love it. Even though it's my favorite thing. It's great. I love meat. Okay?
Oh my god, that's so cringe. I don't remember saying that. Oh my god. Like, I was basically crying about how much I love meat and I didn't want to give it up, but I had to. Oh my god. I'm so glad that I have grown up from this. That's cringe. Anyway, I forgive you. Past me.
But I don't want animals to suffer. Okay?
That's the bottom line.
It's really
Yeah.
easy, and especially not in the inhumane way they are, because I mean, if they just die and then we'd eat their meat, which never happens, I'd be okay with it. It's like, oh, they were already dead. We can do whatever we want with the body. They're not alive anymore.
Yeah.
We can't.
Technically. Like, I don't know where I stand on that, on like the whole freeganism thing, like eating meat that, just found in a dumpster or roadkill or something. Like, at this point, I'm more on the side of I don't think we should perceive animals as food in any way anymore because they're corpses. They're living animals turned into corpses. Why would you want to eat that? Like, we don't look at a dead human. Like, if my grandma dies, I'm not going to be like, I'm going to eat her. Like, now that she's dead, I'm just gonna take the opportunity to eat her. Like, that's just fucked up. And that, to me, seems disrespectful. Even though technically, there's no one there anymore to disrespect. But it's just the principle, I guess. Animals are not food, they're individuals.
They're slaughtered, like, in the prime of their life. When they're still basically adolescents. Right? It's like killing me. Would you kill me for my flesh?
Nope.
Would that be okay?
Nope.
Because I taste good?
Do I? I don't think so. And that's where it ends. It's just bad. Because it is, and I am very happy that I made the right choice, and I want to encourage others to make the right choice as well. And that's why I'm an activist now. I actually waited a very long time to become an activist. Well, not a very long time. It depends on your definition of activist. Like, I got in a lot of, arguments and comment sections and stuff for quite a long time. I think basically since the beginning of my veganism. But I started this YouTube channel a month ago. I started going to protests 2 months ago almost. I started feeling like I needed to do more. I think the more people that are active and fighting for what they believe in, both when it comes to ending animal agriculture, the objectification of animals, and promoting the rights of animals, as well as, fighting for a better world environmentally and getting our governments to fucking get off their ass and do something. I'm also part of the Vegan Student Association in my city, Utrecht. And about a month ago, we launched a petition for plant-based milk in university coffee machines. There's like over 900 signatures right now. Hopefully something will come of it. But yeah, I'm very motivated to try to make a change in my own environment locally, but also here on YouTube and see where it brings me. And yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to say today. Thank you for listening. I hope you found it enjoyable. Please subscribe and like the video and all of that. Yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.